Hello student, welcome back for the course of MBA Semester 4 International Marketing Environment. Today our lecture number for our today's session is lecture number 19, 20 and 21. The topic of our today's discussion is theories of international trade. So, the primary objective of our today's session is help to understand the different theories of international trade and its evolution. So how does that theories were evolved, that we are going to see. So the contents of our today's session is theories of international trade and its evolution. So one by one we will discuss the different international trade theories, and then we will go on alternate basis we came to know about its evolution. So we are talking about these theories, okay, the theories of international trade and its evolution. So these are the primary theories that are involved in any kind of international trade. And how does that theories were evolved, okay, one by one we should have to discuss it today. The first theory would be called as the theory of relative advantage. Okay. This theory has been classified in three ways. The first one is factor endowment theory. The second one is called as the theory of absolute advantage. The third one is theory of comparative advantage. After we came to know about this comparative advantage theory, okay, we are applying some particular principles, okay, particularly related with some modern economies, and the theory would be called as the modern approach to the comparative advantage theory, and the last theory would be called as the product life cycle approach theory. So all these theories, they were having their own relative importance during their own periods. So we have to discuss these theories one by one. So we are going to start from the theory of relative advantage. Now as we are talking about the international trade or international business, wherever the countries themselves that they are involved in this activity, okay, either by means of importing, exporting, licensing or franchising. So many countries and their firms, okay, they are involved in this international trade related activities. So they are producing some particular form of goods, commodities and services, and making these goods, commodities and services in the another country. Now according to this relative advantage theory, whatever the country that they will produce, okay, they are going to make this product, goods or services available in the another country whenever it is advantageous to that particular nation over the another country, okay, particularly on the basis of cost of production. Whenever such a kind of advantage, okay, that the country has, okay, or any company has, okay, then that company or country has some relative advantage over the another country, okay, because that they will produce, okay, more, okay, on the basis of whatever form of cost of production and serve the another country. So when we are talking about this relative advantage theory, okay, we are going to conduct the international trade, okay, whenever the country feels themselves, okay, they will produce more product or goods, okay, as compared to another country, okay, by means of considering, okay, the cost of production would be the criteria, okay, so as to get some competitive advantage over the another nation. That time we will be called as what? The theory of relative advantage, okay, in terms of international trade. When we are talking about that advantage in terms of cost of production, okay, that advantage would be either an absolute advantage or comparative advantage, okay. So there will be two parts with respect to that cost of production, okay. If the cost of production, that depends on some whether they will produce some particular kind of goods and services, okay, depending on some particular criterias. The first one would be called as the absolute advantage and another one would be called as an comparative advantage. Now it is advantageous to the firm or the country, okay, when they will consider, okay, the situation, the first kind of situation with respect to the absolute advantage. Absolute advantage means, okay, or it refers to the uncontested superiority of the country or business to produce a particular good better as compared to another country. Whenever whenever any particular country business or any international firm or company, okay, they are making an international business with respect to whatever form of goods, services or products that they will produce, okay, and they were considered themselves a superior product, okay, as compared to the another country, okay, and they are making this product available in another country, okay, by means of using uh, a polycentric orientation, okay. So most of the international firms, okay, they are having some particular form of orientation towards the international trade. So that is called as an uncontested superiority of that particular product, okay. So whatever the company will produce, whatever the country will produce, okay, they think that, okay, their product would be what is more superior as compared to their other counterparts, and they are making products available in the other country, okay, depending on the demand from this overseas market. Such kind of advantage would be called as a absolute advantage. Now whenever the country will produce, okay, better and good quality product, definitely they will get more businesses from the another countries, okay. uh, Other countries, those who are not self reliant in producing that particular goods and services, okay, they will be always in demand and they are asking to these countries, okay, to make this product available in their own countries. Now another form of advantage would be called as a comparative advantage. Okay. Whereas comparative advantage introduces an opportunity cost as a factor for analysis in choosing between the different options for production diversification. Now it is advantageous whether to produce that particular good or not, okay, as compared to the competitor, okay. So in case of comparative advantage, okay, there will be some particular criteria with respect to the opportunity cost. So what will be that opportunity cost, okay, that should be considered for that particular nation, okay. That should be depend on some several criteria, say for example division of labor or diversification. So what would be the different types of goods and other services could be made available from that particular country, okay, they will have more comparative advantage as compared to the other counterparts, okay, or other nations. So that will be called as a comparative advantage, okay. So it is quite necessary to analyze the opportunity cost as a factor for analysis in choosing between the different options for production diversification. So it is the capability of the firm to produce more, okay, because it is feasible for themselves to produce more, okay. Once they produce more, they should make available in some another countries and they can conduct the international trade. So some particular countries or firms or companies that they believe in this direction, okay, with the help of this comparative advantage. Now once we know these absolute advantage and comparative advantage, we should have to discuss some other theories, okay. These theories has been classified into three different theories, okay, as we will discuss in the beginning, okay. The first theory would be called as a factor endowment theory, okay. Now when we are conducting the international trade, okay, that time we are considering some particular factors and which can be an advantageous to the nation. So each country has different types and amounts of resources, okay, and whatever form of resources that they has, okay, depending on that, okay, they are conducting the international trade, okay. So that will determine that what they can have or they cannot produce, okay. So whatever that they do not produce, okay, for which they can conduct the international trade. So different factor endowments would be considered, okay, and that will be the combination of various resources, land, labor, capital, enterprise, and so on, okay. That should be called as country's factor endowment. Now whatever the wherever the countries are being self reliant in production of some particular goods or services, if they are producing more or in excess, then they can think about to get their products, okay, or businesses international. So in that case that they will conduct the international trade, okay. If they are not producing that particular goods, okay, they are not a self reliant country to produce that commodities or items within the country itself, even in that case also they can conduct the international trade. So uh, that that will be called as different factors are supposed to be there that may be supposed to help in conducting the international trade. So whether it should be an advantageous to the nation, whatever form of resources that are being available in the country, okay, how does it should be an advantageous to the nation? Say for example, okay, factor endowments, how to determine that factor endowments? Whether these factor can be an advantageous to the nations, okay, if the geographical features, say for example climatic condition and natural resources are sufficient, or these conditions are feasible to produce more. Once they will produce more because of what, okay, their geographical and climatic conditions are appropriate to produce the particular goods or commodities, then they will conduct the international trade. Some historical development and political stability, okay, if any country those who are being politically stable, okay, that gives rise to good businesses domestically as well as internationally. Social and demographic issues, specifically that is related with the socio demographic characteristics of the people, okay, wherever they are being residing in the specific countries, foreign countries. So considering these socio demographic features, okay, of that particular nation, whether it should be advantageous to get themselves involved into the international trade. Say for example, India and the largest population strata belongs to youth, and many of the foreign multinational companies are focusing. India will be a major investment destination depending on this demographic dividend of youth. Okay, so in this way, we are identifying this factor endowment and focusing on the whether to conduct the international trade or not. Economic endowment based on size and quality of the workforce, okay, which are being available within the country, and access to the capital, okay, by the individual people as well as the uh, in businesses specifically. So how does that economic activities of the nation and that will support to conduct the international trade? Some entrepreneurial skills and freedom to pursue the entrepreneurial activities, okay, within that particular country. So India has been promoted, okay, the make in India campaign as well as made in India campaign, and India has been keen to focus on inviting the foreign direct investment within the country, okay, and started the manufacturing hub within the own country. So similarly, other countries are also they are making some several reforms and introducing the various plans and policies and focusing on the development agenda. So many of these factors would be considered, okay, as a form of factor endowment, while that will give some advantages to the individual nations so that they can involve in the international trade and they will eventually start their businesses. Because the different factor endowments trade would be beneficial for each of these countries, okay. So it is the individual country for themselves, okay, how does that they will believe themselves whether they can produce or not, depending on the factor endowment, okay. So trade will allow these countries to have an access to various goods and services, okay, which they can produce or they cannot produce. So depending on can and cannot conditions, okay, they can conduct the international trade. Say for example, India is the largest trading partner with the many of the countries, and mainly we are supplying some particular form of resources, okay. For example, coal, iron ore, okay, even manpower, lignite, textile, okay, software. So it would be an advantageous to the nation, okay, depending on some factor endowment. Similarly, Japan will provide a very high skilled workforce to many of the advanced countries, okay. So if any kind of businesses all over the world that are being related with technology, okay, with respect to two-wheeler, four-wheeler cars and other electrical equipment. So uh, uh, Japan workforce will be a number one workforce that should be believable, okay, and wherever many of the expatriates are working across many of the countries. Similarly, China has a very large population, and many are considering they will provide a cheap labor to produce any kind of particular product, say, for example, textile, clothing, footwear, as well as plastics. So many companies that they will focus, China will be a good destination because they will get cheap labor over there. Similarly, Bolivia, okay, however, it is a landlocked country with few natural resources and unstable political environment. So nobody tries to get enter into Bolivia because of these several problems of the particular country. Now depending on that, okay, whether it is advantageous to the nation to get involved in the international trade or not involved into the international trade, that depends on what form of resources that are available in the country, okay, that should be identified on the basis of this factor endowment. So this is called as a factor endowment theory of international trade. The another theory would be called as the absolute advantage theory. It is the second theory of relative advantage. Now, whenever the different companies, nations, or individual producers, okay, that they will produce the different goods and services, okay, as more as possible as compared to the another country or another company, okay, by means of using some specific form of criteria, okay, either by specialization or division of labor, that time we are using this theory that is called as an absolute advantage theory, okay. Now it is advantageous to the nation to produce that particular goods or services more, okay, at reasonable prices or at similar cost, okay, as compared to another counterpart or country, okay, that time we are using a absolute advantage theory of international trade. So that will be the ability of the country to produce any particular goods or services at lower cost as compared to the another country. So once that they will produce more as compared to another country, so excess production would be transmitted, okay, either by means of export to the another country, okay, and they can conduct the international trade. This is called as an absolute advantage theory. This theory was suggested by Scottish economist Adam Smith in 1776. Okay, uh, we are very much familiar with these theories, okay, as that's Adam Smith, the father of economists. He has suggested this theory. A country has an absolute advantage in production of good when it can produce more of that good with a given amount of resources than another country. Now, whenever the country, whichever form of resources, whatever form of resources that they will have, okay, within, okay, how much will be the cost of production, okay, and they will produce more product, okay, at reasonable prices, then it should be called as an absolute advantage, okay, with respect to that particular product or that service that they can offer to some another country. So it would be in the interest of each of this country, okay, to specialize in production of the commodity in which it has an absolute cost advantage and trade. Now countries, okay, which can supply some particular goods and services, say for example India. India will supply some particular goods, say for example food grain, software, okay, and then iron ore, okay, lignite, textile to Britain. Britain will supply technologies, okay, technological goods to India, okay. So that should be called as an absolute advantage. So whatever country, okay, they are sufficient in resources and they will produce more, okay, they there will be called as an absolute advantage to that particular country, okay, and in that way both the countries can conduct the international trade together. This way, the productivity of both the nations increases, and thereby both nations stands to gain the competitive advantage. Okay, a sustainable competitive advantage. Say for example, India and Great Britain. Okay, they are the largest trading partner to each other. Similarly, other countries also. India will transmit, okay, India will export iron ore, textile, okay, food grains, software to these nations. Okay, similarly, we are importing technological goods from Britain. Okay, so they both are the trading partners to each other and they can conduct the international trade mutually with each other. So when each country specialize in the production of goods in which they have an absolute advantage, okay, that increases the production of all the goods or services, okay, across that particular country. So how does it should be an advantageous to the nation? Okay, India is an agriculture country, and agricultural huge agricultural land would be available to produce the agricultural goods and allied products. Whatever agricultural goods that we will produce, say for example food grains, we can transmit to the Great Britain, and from Great Britain that we are importing technology. So it should be a absolute advantage to both the nation. Okay, whatever in which they are having a more competitive advantage, so they will produce more and exchange these goods and services for the benefit of each other. Okay, in that case it should be called as an absolute advantage. Say for example, India is the largest tea producer in the world. Okay, similarly Great Britain. Okay, so Great Britain mainly they will export the engineering goods, okay, or technological goods to India. Okay, so they were identified that India will be the largest marketplace specifically for agricultural goods. Even they came into India by means of using the East India Company. Okay, and East India Company, they were collecting all these agricultural goods. Okay, and they are exporting to the Great Britain before independence. Similarly, Finland, okay, Finland has done this recently by specializing in production and distribution of mobile handsets. So Finland belongs to Europe, okay, and they were started the mobile productions, okay. So in which resources the individual countries, okay, they are having more and more specialized, so they can set up their own infrastructure and they will start the export related activities from their own countries. The another kind of theory would be called as comparative advantage theory. Comparative advantage. Now whatever the company or individual nation that they will produce, okay, here we are considering some special factor, okay, that is called as an opportunity cost. Okay, so when the producer can produce any particular goods or services at lower opportunity cost than its trading partners, that time, okay, we will call it is a comparative advantage theory. If suppose you are an entrepreneur and you want to produce some particular goods at very reasonable prices, suppose say rupees 1000 rupees, and you need to make the product available different parts, okay, which are required in the assembly line, okay, you need to import from several other countries, okay, or from nearby uh, companies. Okay, so you are looking for some other businesses, okay, that will provide you that particular product at lower opportunity cost. So same product at lower opportunity cost, whenever it should be made available, okay, from other countries, that time it should be a comparative advantage to that particular nation. So it is the ability of the country to sell the goods or services at lower prices than its competitors. Say for example China. So China has developed their individual district as a form of cluster of production, and they were developed the individual technologies over there so that they can make the excess of production of that particular goods and services and making product available in some other countries. So that will be called as a comparative advantage. Okay, so they were reduce the production cost, okay, behind that particular product or other services, and uh, whichever other companies or countries, okay, those who are having resources, okay, but they could not produce such a kind of quality product at reasonable prices, okay, then it should not be advantageous to that particular nation. This theory was suggested by the classical economist David Ricardo in 1817. Okay, So what does that David Ricardo says about this theory? The principle is based on the relative efficiencies of production where each country has a comparative advantage in producing the commodity in which it has lower opportunity cost. Now it is advantageous to that particular nation to produce, okay, as much as goods that they require, okay, whatever form of commodities or goods that they would require, okay, based on the production capacities. This theory would be also called as a macroeconomic theory because it deals with the trade of commodities and goods. So in which they are supposed to be a self-reliant, okay, so they will produce more and they are making the sufficient form of infrastructure available to produce more quantity of goods and services. But like all macroeconomic theory, this theory will fail to answer some particular questions to say for example other aspects which are being related with the phenomena, okay, because of its underlying assumptions. So this theory would consider themselves that in whatever form of countries, okay, they are having some sufficient resources, so they will produce more. So these criteria would be considered over here. One phenomena is that it is help to explain the existence of multinational concerns and desire to invest in a foreign land, okay. Now here only the situation or the circumstances considering for the promotion of that international trade would be taken into account very little bit, okay. They will not consider the existence of multinational businesses, okay, whether they want to produce more, okay, besides what form of multinational companies are being available, as well as desire to invest in foreign lands, okay. So this also has not been suggested whether to enter into the foreign market and start the international business. So this theory primarily consider, okay, what will be the opportunity cost with respect to the cost of production, okay, if that should be feasible, so they will produce and making product available through the international trade. So country tend to produce and export these goods in which they has greater or least comparative advantage, or and import those goods in which it has least or greater comparative advantage, okay. So there are two kinds of activities. The first one is called as export and another one is called as import, which we can conduct by means of which we can conduct the international trade. So countries, okay, which tend to produce and export those goods which wherever they are having the greater competitive advantage, okay. So whenever they are having a greater competitive advantage, okay, that time they are mainly conducting the export related activity. So initially that you do remember that whenever computer, okay, was produced only by the developed nations, okay, some countries those are belonging to United States, even Great Britain, okay, these countries that they were manufacturing these technological goods and they were having a monopoly with respect to that particular product and its related production technologies. Once these countries have understood, okay, the importance of that comparative advantage, so whatever that they will produce more, okay, they will export to some other countries those who are not producing more, okay, wherever they are having a least comparative advantage, okay, they will also involved in the international trade with respect to import, okay. Say for example India, okay, India is importing various technological know-hows from Russia, Great Britain, United States, okay, and as well as from Japan. So they are the largest trading partners with India. So in this way, whatever has been advantageous to each of these nations, okay, that defines the comparative advantage of the nation. Now on the basis of that, okay, it is possible to predict that what goods a nation will export and import. Say for example, India is a land of agriculture, okay. So we are having a maximum agriculture productions of the fruit grains, so excess fruit grains that we can make an export with respect to that particular goods and commodities. Resources, okay, that we cannot produce more, okay, that we need to import. Say for example, petrochemical goods we need to import from another country, so that will be an advantageous to the nation. Say for example, India and Iran, okay. So we are importing petrochemical goods from Iran, so this will be a comparative advantage to each of the nation. Smith has further suggested that nations maximize its supply of goods by concentrating on production where it is more efficient and trading some of these products for imported products where it is the least efficient. Now it depends on when eventually the country that they can start export or import. Okay. So each country that they tries to make their own production capabilities so that they can maximize the supply of these goods and services, so they can make an export very easily. If they are not producing that particular goods or services wherever the production capabilities are least efficient, in that case they will import the goods, and they both need to be conduct the international trade. Here is one example has been given. So let us assume that there are two countries, country A and B, okay, and two products, country A and country B, okay, and two products, okay, say for example X and Y, okay, X and Y. Each of these country has workforce of 10 men, okay, 10 men. So all these country A and country B has 10 men, okay, means workforce or manpower. While in country A, each man can produce 6 units of X, okay, or 6 units of Y, okay. Here there are 10 persons are available to each of the country, okay, and 6 units that they are producing. Country X has been producing 6 units and country Y has been producing the 6 units. Each man in country B can produce 4 unit, okay. Country B can produce 4 units, okay, and 4 units of X, okay, 4 units of X. So there were 10 men over there in this country, okay. So 4 units of X and or 2 units of Y, okay, 2 units of Y. So this data has been given. Now assuming that, okay, men are equally deployed and no trade exists, the following scenario can be emerged over there: production per working day. So here this data could be made available, okay, with respect to that both the nation, okay. So country X, country A and B has been given, so different kinds of production with respect to whatever will be the availability of that workforce has been there, and total amount which can produce, it has been listed over here. So total 90 units can be produced by both the nations, okay. Now let us see that how does it should be a comparative advantage to each nation, okay. So in this case we came to know that the country A is producing 60 units and country B is producing 30 units, okay. So here we will see that country A has 2 times the production than the country B, okay. So country A has 2 times the production than the country B. country A and country B. Let us see this. Okay, total production would be of country A is 60 and country B is 30 units only. So means that okay, two times more production has been happening in country A. So it is a more comparative advantage to the nation A. Now the real income of A is therefore also two times that of B. Okay, this data would not be available. Now if the countries agrees that to specialize so as to maximize the total production by specializing the products in which each has a relative advantage, and the following scenario will emerge. This is the first scenario and this will be the second scenario. Okay, now they were having the same labor force over here and they need to specialize. If the country A has some sufficient technological resources, okay, they will transmit that technological resources to country B. Okay, the country B can produce more. Okay, and in this way they can have an 100% production. Okay, so so they will produce X product. Okay, 50 products the here can be produced, and similarly Y product. Okay, there are similarly same 50 product can be produced. So you will identify that okay, some particular components okay which cannot be procured okay by country B, okay, which can be get transmitted by the country A. Okay, by means of using starting some assembly line operations, so country B can produce more over here. Okay, so in this way even the country B, okay, they can transmit some particular kind of technology and improve the production of Y. Okay, similarly we can produce okay same number of products, and finally okay we came to know that each nation they will have a comparative advantage to each other, and they can produce that particular product okay, and in larger quantities as compared to the earlier counterparts. So in this way that we can benefit the nation. This is called as a comparative advantage. So thus we came to know that the total production of both the economies can taken together increase by 10. Both economies stand to gain over here the sufficient amount of profit from the respective countries. Okay, various combinations of these can be made possible, but has to do with the gain. So how this gain will be distributed depending upon the market conditions. So whatever form of profit that individual country can gain. So here the country that they need to think over here, if you can consider the case of company even also. Okay, and you can make a joint collaboration within these companies okay, by means of using merger, acquisition, takeover, okay, joint venture, okay, and they can make an import and export of related technologies, and making the production capabilities sufficient enough so that they can produce that much number of quantity and benefit to each of the companies or countries. In this way the comparative advantage will be get benefited. Now this is the second approach of comparative advantage. This is called as a modern approach to the comparative advantage. Now in this modern approach okay, we were recently seen about that comparative advantage okay, and now it is a competitive advantage. This was suggested by Michael Porter's. Porter's models was very much popular okay, and this was suggested in one of his famous book that is called as the competitive advantage of nations in 1990s. So what he has suggested okay, how does it should be a competitive advantage to the nation to make international trade. It is a competitive advantage that is based on lower cost, technological innovation and product differentiation. They were considered that whenever the company they can produce some sufficient quantities of product, okay, by means of reducing the cost of production, so that they can produce maximum number of product, and excess quantities can be uh, exchanged through the international business. Technological innovations. Similarly, product differentiation, different forms of substitute of different products that one can manufacture, rather than comparative advantage, okay, that is becoming an important factor in determining the pattern and direction of the international trade. So how does the individual firm or company or country they can make themselves a self-reliant depending on the competitive advantage? So they need to consider whatever form of resources are being sufficiently make available, for which they can uh, involved in the international trade related activities by means of considering the several factors. So they will become in the self reliant in themselves, and so as to conduct the international trade. Many of these transnational corporations they are playing a very great role by means of producing some sufficient amount of goods and services, by means of using lots of R&D efforts, so that they can coordinate their production related activities and moving the resources, okay, land, labor, capital, excluding land, okay, money, equipments, technological goods and other services, production components, investment fund, technology, labor, okay, from one nation to another nation depending on considering the competitive advantage of the nation. So whatever they will think themselves, okay, that will be helpful to that particular business, okay, by means of considering some important factors, say for example lower cost of production, technological innovation and product differentiation. So this will gives rise to the sustainable competitive advantage to the nation, so that they can conduct the international trade. The another kind of theory was suggested by Michael Veron in 1966. This is called as the product life cycle approach. We were already familiar with the product life cycle, okay, and how does the product can be manufactured, okay, and it passes to the different stages of its life cycle, and finally it reaches to the absolution stage. So when a country products that begins an export eventually becomes an exporter. This is really an example of many of the nations, those who are being quite technologically advanced. Whenever they were started to produce the laptop or even computers, okay, these countries they were identified once they were satisfied the needs and wants of the domestic consumers, and they were identified that okay they are the sole manufacturer of these technological goods and resources, and they were think that okay they were satisfies the demands of the domestic market, and they need to think over that to conduct the international trade by means of using an export, okay. Whenever such a kind of thinking of ideology has been there, okay, that time we are using the product life cycle approach in the international trade, okay. Now whenever these countries they were introduced this product into the market, okay, the product was initially accepted by the user and got a very good form of maturity level and survived in the domestic market. Now once they were satisfied the demands of their domestic market, and product has occupied a very good position in their growth as well as maturity stage, so it is quite necessary to start the international business activity by means of eventually starting an export, okay. By means of that we can start the international trade. Countries those who are not producing computers and laptops even also, okay, and they are being looking to these international giants, manufacture because of they were having a monopoly into the markets. And computerization was quite necessary within the many of the countries, and therefore these countries, okay, particularly developing nation as well as least developed nations, okay, they were started importing of these technological goods, computers, laptops in their own countries initially. So this was, okay, a quite very good example. Whenever product, okay, has been reached into growth and maturity stage, okay, in their own countries, say for example technological goods, okay, laptop, computers and other technological goods, according to this concept many products, okay, that will go through the different stages of life cycle. Okay, once the marketeers has identified that, okay, the product has been accepted by the user in the domestic market, then they will have to think eventually that they when exactly they will start the international business through export. So it depends on the that particular nation whether they will start the to make an export or import, or the country should import that particular technological goods within their own countries. In marketing, we are quite familiar with this product life cycle. Okay, this is a called as a micro level explanation of different stages of life cycle of the product or services, wherever the product passes to the different stages of its development. Okay, and simultaneously we came to know about that how much will be the sales volume and profit during the different stages of product life cycle. Say for example product passes through the different stages of life cycle, say for example introduction, growth, maturity, decline and absolutions. So initially okay, there was a very sales volume and profit as soon as the product gets a momentum into the market and tries to occupy the marketplace. Okay, definitely its sales volume as well as profit start increasing. Once we satisfy the demand of the domestic users, then the company can think themselves to start the international business by means of export. Okay, so this sales and profit is a very important form of variables, okay, particularly in marketing decision, wherever many of the companies are thinking on these aspects. Okay, with the help of this product life cycle approach, okay, many of the firms, okay, they are designing their marketing strategies also. Okay, so what form of marketing strategies are being very essential at different stages of life cycle so as to manage the activities with respect to, okay, product, price, place, promotion, okay, that has been completely managed to the throughout the life cycle of that particular product or services. In international market, okay, or international business, okay, here we are talking about international product life cycle. Okay, almost all same stages are being there as compared to any kind of domestic product life cycle. So all these stages, okay, that could be comes in the product life cycle of any kind of product. So any companies, whether it is a overseas multinational, okay, or transnational company, they want to involve in the international trade, so they will consider whatever the different stages of international product life cycle. Okay, if the product has been very innovative and accepted by the user, okay, so they can sequentially, simultaneously, or synchronously, even they eventually start an export related activity when they got a momentum into the marketplace. Okay, particularly in domestic markets. So there are different stages of life cycle that we could be very much familiar. Okay, so this will be introduction, growth, okay, maturity and decline. So in the different stages of the life cycle, okay, many of the competitors as well as different marketeers, they tries to take the advantage of the different activities, okay, and simultaneously manage our marketing strategies also. Okay, so different types of marketing objectives so as to gain awareness, okay, so as to fight with the competition by means of using differentiation, maintaining the brand loyalty, and harvesting the deletion. So at different stages of life cycle, the different types of marketing strategies has been used so as to face the competition. Okay, and different stages with respect to 4 P's. Okay, so different types of parameters can be considered so as to manage our marketing strategy very appropriately, so that we can extend the life cycle of the product. Okay, even though the product could not be superior in certain cases, but they were having a monopoly because no other producer can be get available in certain cases, say for example technological goods. So here the companies and individual firm as well as the nation think themselves, when does that they, the individual country firms or company, they should have to conduct the international trade either by means of using export or import. Okay, if you are satisfying your domestic users, okay, then and then only they can eventually start export related activity. If any other country, that those who are not in self reliant to product to produce that particular product, so and they are being asking about how does the product could be get available within their own countries, so they can eventually start the import related activities within their own nations from their trading partners. So in this way they can conduct the international trade. So among, due to these different stages of product life cycle, okay, different types of product as well as services, okay, they can be manufactured by the nations, okay, or companies, and they could be made available in different countries, okay, in different stages of product life cycle. So that's all about our today's session. Thank you very much.